Imagine you're sitting in a coffee shop. Two people walk in. From the outside, they look similar. Same age, same education level, same country, same city even. But one of them is about to order a coffee that costs $8. They won't think about it. It's just a coffee. They'll buy it without hesitation. They'll probably also order a pastry, maybe some merchandise from the shop's brand. They'll spend $20 total and forget about it within the hour. The person next to them orders water. Free water. They brought their own coffee from home. They're doing mental math about whether they can afford to spend money here at all. The cost of that coffee could mean they skip lunch tomorrow or push off buying something they actually need. These two people are living in parallel universes. Same location, same moment in time, completely different financial realities. And this isn't a story. This is actually how wealth distribution works in America right now. The top 1% of households owned 31.7% of all U.S. wealth in the third quarter of 2025, the highest share on record since the Federal Reserve began tracking household wealth in 1989. Let me put that in perspective. The wealthiest 1% of America holds nearly 1/3 of all the wealth. The bottom 50% holds 2.5%. That means the top 1% owns about 12 times more wealth than the entire bottom half of America combined. 12 times. Not twice. 12 times. And this gap is growing. Every year it gets bigger. Every year the rich get richer, and everyone else stays exactly where they are. But here's the part that hurts. Most people don't realize the real reason they can't build wealth, while others are building generational empires. And it's not because they're lazy. It's not because they're bad at money. It's because they're living in a different game with completely different rules. Here's something that changes everything about how you understand wealth inequality. It's not random. It's not luck. It's systems. Actual systems that were deliberately designed to make some people wealthy and keep others from building wealth. And these systems are so embedded that most people don't even see them. The top 10% of households by wealth had 8.1 million on average. As a group, they held 67.2% of total household wealth. The bottom 50% of households by wealth had 60,000 on average. As a group, they held 2.5% of total household wealth. Think about what that means. The top 10% has an average of $8 million. The bottom 50% has $60,000. That's not a difference in income. That's not a difference in work ethic. That's a difference in systems. The top 10%'s money is in stocks, real estate, and investments that grow automatically. The bottom 50%'s money is in their bank account, and their car, and their home that they're still paying off. One person's wealth is working for them. One person is working for their wealth. And the systems that created this are so powerful that even if you work incredibly hard, even if you make great decisions, even if you do everything right, you might still never catch up. Because the rules of the game are written by and for people who already have money. Let me tell you about the biggest advantage most people don't even know they have or don't have. Inheritance. Not all inheritance. Rich inheritance. In what's known as the Great Wealth Transfer, baby boomers are expected to pass down between $70 trillion and $90 trillion in wealth over the next 20 years. Much of that is expected to go to their millennial children. High net worth individuals worth $5 million or more will account for nearly half of that total. So right now, while you're trying to build wealth, some people are about to receive tens of millions of dollars for free. Just because their parents died. They didn't earn it. They didn't work for it. They're just getting it. And when they get it, their entire financial life changes. But here's the cruel part. The wealthiest 10% of households are set to pass down the majority of wealth. A study conducted by the Resolution Foundation revealed that wealthier boomers are more than 2 times as likely to leave inheritances to their children than poorer Americans. So the people who are already rich are getting richer through inheritance, while the people who aren't rich are getting nothing. And that wealth, that inherited wealth, compounds. It grows. It gets invested. It multiplies. Meanwhile, the person without inheritance is working overtime trying to build what was just handed to someone else. And it gets worse. Heirs who do receive assets often benefit from built-in tax advantages. Under current law, inherited securities and real estate get a stepped-up cost basis, resetting the taxable gain to the asset's value at the time of death. This allows for the sale or repositioning of inherited wealth at a much lower tax cost than if the heir had bought the asset themselves. So not only do they get the inheritance, but they also get a tax break when they sell it. The system literally rewards them for getting something they didn't work for, and it punishes the person who actually earned their money and has to pay full taxes on it. Here's where the real wealth is built. Not in your savings account. In the stock market. Stocks are where millionaires are made. Stocks are where wealth multiplies. But guess what? Most people don't own stocks. And the people who own them own a lot. The richest 1% own 50% of U.S. stock and mutual funds, up from 40% in 2002. The top 1% owns half the stock market. The top 10% owns 87%. The bottom 50% owns 1%. 1%. So the wealth of the stock market is essentially locked in the hands of people who are already rich. If you're not rich, you're basically excluded from the mechanism that makes people wealthy. This matters because stocks grow. On average, they grow about 8% per year. That means if you have $100,000 in the stock market, you're making $8,000 a year just from growth. That's passive income. That's wealth building without working. But if you have $100,000 in your savings account earning 0.01% interest, you're making $1 a year. You're losing money to inflation. Your wealth is shrinking. But here's the real problem. Most people can't afford to buy stocks. You need money to invest money. You need capital to make capital. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you can't invest. You're not accessing the mechanism that builds wealth. You're locked out. And while you're locked out, the people who are in the stock market are getting richer automatically. Real estate is where generational wealth happens. A house bought 40 years ago for $120,000 is now worth $650,000. That's $530,000 in profit. Just sitting there. The person who bought it is rich. The person trying to buy it now can't afford it. And that difference is wealth. But here's the cruel part. Between 1990 and 2024, median home prices increased by more than 400%. Meanwhile, median household income rose by less than 200%. Homes got 4 times more expensive. Wages barely doubled. If you bought a house in 1990, you're rich now. If you're trying to buy a house now, you can't afford it. You didn't make a bad decision. You were born into the wrong generation. This is why generational wealth is so powerful. The boomers bought cheap homes decades ago. The homes appreciated. They own valuable assets. Millennials and Gen Z inherited this world where homes are unaffordable, wages haven't kept up, and they're priced out of the mechanism that builds wealth. They can't own a home, so they can't build equity, so they can't build wealth. They're locked out by circumstance. While the stock market and real estate are making people rich, regular wages are stagnating. Between 2019 and 2025, workers worldwide experienced a 12% decline in real wages, or $2,326 in dollar terms. By contrast, pay for the 1,500 highest-paid CEOs in the world jumped 54% over the same period to an average of $8.4 million. Workers' wages went down. CEOs' wages went up. This isn't normal. This isn't how it always was. This is a choice made by companies to pay workers less and CEOs more. The person making $50,000 a year is actually making less in purchasing power than they were 5 years ago. They work the same job. They work just as hard. But inflation ate their wage. Meanwhile, the CEO who makes $8 million a year just got a raise. The gap is getting bigger and bigger. And the worker can't catch up because their wages are stagnant while costs keep rising. This means wealth building is mathematically harder. If your wage isn't growing and inflation is eating your purchasing power, you can't save more even if you try. You're just trying to maintain. You're on a treadmill that's speeding up and you're running faster just to stay in the same place. Here's the most powerful secret that the wealthy understand but nobody talks about. Compound interest. Albert Einstein allegedly called it the eighth wonder of the world. When you have money, compound interest works for you. When you don't have money, compound interest works against you. It's the ultimate wealth machine, and it's rigged. Let's say someone has $100,000 to invest at age 25. They put it in a simple index fund earning 8% a year. By the time they're 65, that $100,000 has become $10.6 million. They didn't add a dollar. They didn't work for it. Compound interest did it. $10 million from $100,000. That's what time does for people with money. Now let's say someone has $100,000 in credit card debt at age 25. The credit card charges 20% interest. By age 65, if they've only been making minimum payments, They've paid $250,000 in interest and still owe money. Compound interest worked against them. They paid more in interest than the original debt. That's what time does to people without money. The same force, compound interest, works to make rich people richer and poor people poorer. And the only way to access the positive side of compound interest is to have money to invest. Which brings us back to the inheritance trap. Which brings us back to the stock market trap. Which brings us back to the housing trap. It's all connected. And if you start without money, it's incredibly hard to catch up because time is working against you, not for you. Here's something that doesn't show up in the statistics, but affects wealth building more than anything. Who you know, your network, your connections. If you were born into a wealthy family, your parents probably know people. Successful people, business people, investors, entrepreneurs. You grew up around wealth. You learned how wealth is built. You have access to opportunities that other people will never hear about. There's a job opening at a company, but it's never advertised. Your dad's friend tells you about it. You get the job. Someone else with better qualifications never even knows it exists. The job went to your connections. This is systemic, generational. Hispanic and Black homeowners who received an inheritance of at least $5,000 were 7 times and 5.4 times, respectively, as likely to be homeowners as those who didn't. However, Black and Hispanic households are less likely to receive familial assistance at all. If your family can help you with a down payment, you can buy a house. If your family can't, you can't. Your family's wealth determines your ability to build wealth. And if your family starts without wealth, they might never escape that position because the barriers to building wealth are so high. People get rich not just because they're smart or work hard. They get rich because they had access. They knew someone. They got a break that someone else didn't get. That's the network trap. And if you weren't born into a rich network, accessing one is incredibly difficult. Here's a modern trap that's particularly destructive. Student debt. A young person graduates from college with $50,000 in debt. That's $50,000 they don't have for a down payment on a house. That's $50,000 that could have been invested in the stock market. That's $50,000 that could have been growing through compound interest. Instead, they're paying it back. With interest. 20 years of payments. Every month money goes to student debt instead of building wealth. Meanwhile, someone born rich didn't need student loans. They either didn't go to college because they didn't need to or their parents paid for it. They started at zero. The person with debt is starting at negative $50,000. And they're running a race where one person starts at the finish line and one person starts behind the starting line. This is by design. Education became expensive. People need education to get good jobs. So people go into debt. And that debt locks them out of wealth building for years. By the time they pay off the debt, if they ever do, wealth building opportunities have already passed. They missed the best years of compound growth. They missed the chance to buy cheap housing. They missed opportunities that don't wait for you. Some of this isn't even about choices. Some of it is pure luck. Where you were born, what family you were born into, what color you are, what decade you were born in. These things you have zero control over completely determine your financial future. In 2022, white families had about $260,000 more in average retirement savings than both Black and Hispanic families, and about $20,000 more than Asian families. Structural barriers, including occupational crowding, have created inequities in earnings and access to and participation in workplace retirement savings plans. White families, on average, have significantly more retirement savings. Why? Not because they're smarter or work harder. Because of historical policies that favored them and disadvantaged other groups. Policies that aren't ancient history. Policies from your lifetime. Policies that created wealth for some families and prevented wealth building for others. If you were born in the 1960s as a white male, the doors of opportunity were wide open. Good jobs, good pay, good housing, easy credit, compound growth. By 2025, you're wealthy. If you were born in the 1960s as a Black male, the doors were mostly closed. Discrimination in hiring, discrimination in housing, predatory lending, barriers to building wealth. By 2025, you're behind. Through no fault of your own, you're behind because of when and where and to whom you were born. This is the luck trap, and it's incredibly powerful. It makes people think that wealth is earned when actually a lot of it is inherited. Not just money inherited, opportunity inherited, access inherited, privilege inherited. But here's where it gets psychological. Social media shows you everyone's wealth. You see people your age who are rich. You see their cars, their homes, their trips, and you feel poor. You feel behind. You feel like you should have what they have. So you try to fake it. You buy things you can't afford. You use credit cards to appear wealthy. You create the appearance of success while actually destroying your financial future. A survey by Wells Fargo found that 29% of affluent millennials admit they sometimes buy items they cannot afford to impress others. According to the survey, 41% of affluent millennials admit to funding their lifestyles with credit cards or loans, versus 28% of Gen Zers and 6% of baby boomers. Even rich millennials are going into debt to maintain a lifestyle, but they at least have the wealth to eventually pay it off. Regular people are going into debt chasing a lifestyle they saw on Instagram, and they'll never catch up. This is the lifestyle inequality trap. The gap between what you have and what you see others have creates psychological pressure that leads to bad financial decisions. You spend money you don't have trying to look like you have money, and that spending makes it impossible to actually build wealth. If you've made it this far into the video, you might feel hopeless, like the system is rigged and there's nothing you can do. And honestly, the system is rigged. But here's what matters. Understanding how the system is rigged is the first step to escaping it. Most people don't understand it. They think they're just bad with money. They think they're not working hard enough. They blame themselves. But the system is designed to keep people like you from building wealth. Understanding that isn't depressing. It's liberating. Here's what actually matters. Stop comparing yourself to people on social media who probably have inherited wealth or are lying about their finances. Stop trying to build wealth by yourself against a rigged system. Stop playing a game where the rules were written before you were born. Start thinking about ways to access the mechanisms that actually build wealth. Stocks, real estate, ownership, businesses. These things. Not because you'll definitely get rich, but because they're the only mechanisms that actually work. Start understanding that your wage job, no matter how good the salary, is not going to make you wealthy. It will keep you alive, but it won't make you rich. You need something else. You need assets. You need ownership. You need your money working for you instead of you working for your money. That's the difference between the person in the coffee shop who doesn't think about the price and the person who does. And here's the honest truth. Some people are born with such advantages that they basically can't fail. They inherited wealth. They have connections. They have access to capital. For those people, wealth is almost guaranteed. But that's not most people. Most people have to actually build it. And the system makes that harder than it should be. But it's possible. You just have to understand the game you're playing, accept that it's rigged, and figure out how to win anyway. Start with understanding. The rest follows from there.